I mean, but another, I think, very interesting example is my aunt. She's already dead now, but...
it's from your mom or your dad?
From my father's side. Because I think this example, when I tell this to people, they understand how people believed in East Germany. I mean, for example, her husband, he was working in East Germany, had a normal job. But she worked her whole life for free in a hospital because she believed so much in socialism. And when the wall came down, she was in such a shock. You know, like I don't know, she worked like for 25 years for free for this idea.
Could she cope then?
Yeah. I mean, for her, I mean, it was just like the end of the world. You know, she was exactly this kind of person in the East who was just very shocked when all this corruption, you know, all the information came out.
Okay.
She was like, I cannot believe that this system, that these politicians did this to the people. And for me, it's very interesting because there were actually people who were so, I mean, you know, because we were always critical. Like my father was always critical about East Germany because we had other information, you know, in the West. We knew, okay, it's not the perfect, ideal socialist country. But people in the East, there were many people who thought, okay, we have to fight fascism, and this is a better system than the Third Reich. And you know, I mean, I think looking back now, I'm quite glad that I know all these. Like, it's a quite complex past. I think Germany has. You know, like very often now it gets very simplified, and people say, why did they put up the wall? And it was only a bad intention. But there were many people who said, okay, the Americans, they didn't arrest all the Nazis when the war was over. They had to keep some in power.
Yeah,
you know,
they
courts,
yeah, of course.
And the police and stuff like this. And the Russians and the East Germans were like, okay, no, we have to really protect us from this, you know, because Germany could shift back into a fascist country maybe. You know, there was always this fear. And I think this is not seen so much at the present time when people look back to the history.
No, but that's. I think the fear was mutual. I think the Western world, they thought, well, we have to give. That's why the Marshall Plan was installed because of the fear that maybe socialism would.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so it's like, you know, I think looking back now, a lot of people think it's like it was so easy, like. It's like a very black and white, I think, the way you see it in films or, you know, most people read about it or something. So, but I think it was a very complex situation.
No, but what do you think? What do you think? Because, well, you're known for maybe more social, more left-wing. What do you think? What is your opinion now? Has it changed through the years? I mean, for example, 20 years ago or 15 years ago? Yeah?
Of course.
Can you say how you shifted and how you started?
I think one big difference, I think, is the globalisation, which, of course, you know, when I started making music and stuff, it was maybe starting, but it was not an issue so much that people, you know, it was maybe an idea more, you know, like, for example, the United Europe, all this stuff was more like a theory, you know, at least for people, like normal people. So, and I think now it's kind of strange. I think on one side, I think there are many problems that we face in our society capitalism can't seem to solve. I mean, for example, in Germany we have this big problem with the education system, that it's, you know, young people getting, like, the education is getting worse and worse because the state has not enough money anymore to finance it. And so it's like a vicious circle almost, you know, and I think, I don't know, I have the feeling that maybe in like 50 years time or something, it could be a mix of these two kind of ideas. Because, you know, we have to admit, I mean, like there is the problem in this socialist ideas, like, you know, that there's a lot of corruption possible always, you know, and I think we can't deny that. Because in the 80s, for example, in the scene where I came from, with the squats and you know, or the like really left radical, you know, demonstrations and stuff, we always can idolize these ideas a lot and didn't see the.
Who did you idolize back then?
I mean, it started, you know, with
Not
of
persons,
course, like
Lenin or Marx or
I mean, we
Stalin?
read Marx, for example, but I think it was very good that we did.